right.
Hello?
Just notify him there, but.
Hello, Terry.
I can hear you guys.
Okay. Ready to go? Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Charlottetown Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Activities Committee regular meeting, August the 21st, year 2024 at 4 p.m. Council Chambers, Charlottetown City Hall, and the meeting is streamed at www.charlottetown.ca video. Today's agenda will follow. Order of business, call the meeting to order. Declarations of conflict of interest.
None.
None.
Approval of agenda.
Just want to move something, Mr.
Move.
Chair. Under introduction of new business,
Yep.
can I just, again, notice of motion?
Notice
City
of motion?
Yes. City of Charlottetown minor hockey subsidy increase request?
I think, Mr. Mayor, that the subsidies, and Frank, maybe you can reinforce this. I think all the subsidy requests that have been made, senior administration and Parks and Recreation is taking a look at that, and will be making recommendations for the new fiscal year.
Yeah.
If I understand that correctly.
Yeah, and just on that, Mr. Chair, it's just a notice of motion. I just want to get it there, and I'll just give him.
Well, it's already a work in progress.
Yeah.
The
So the
work-
last
the
time.
work-
So,
Yeah.
Frank, do you want
Yes, so, Your Worship, so we're in process right now reviewing all the minor sport subsidy rates. We're going to find out what the impact is depending on what we raise to 2.
Yeah.
And we will bring it back to the committee just for a preliminary discussion, but it is a fiscal matter, so it would have to come
Yeah.
forward again during
Yeah, no,
just to get a feeling before the actual budget process.
The reason I say that, because Councillor Twill, Councillor Bernard was on council, the last time we raised it, and it was 20 years ago, we went from $80 to $120, so it hasn't risen since. This is for hockey, and I'm sure for the other sports, and I'm sure that, as you know, pickleball is looking for something that we could work at. Anyways, I just want to make sure that it's on the radar. Thank
but
you.
we do have a number of requests that come in to the department.
Yeah.
Any ones I received, I sent them directly to our senior administration of Parks and Recreation. So,
And Mr. Chair,
yes, Councilor Bernard.
would that not be a finance request?
That's a good question.
Seeing the finance looks after the finances for the city of Charlottetown?
Well, it definitely would be vetted through finance. I think our senior staff here will be doing an assessment and an evaluation, and then be collaborating,
Okay.
correct me if I'm wrong, Frank, with the finance committee.
Yep.
Yes, your Chair. So it would come through our department first. We would make the recommendation to finance, and that would be during the budget process. But we would review it now and sort of break down what the actual detailed cost would be. There is more than just minor hockey. We received it both minor hockey groups. I think it was Ringette, I believe. There was at least 2, but there was others. So
There was 2 or 3.
we would have to review all of them, and that's what we're going to be. That's in the process of doing right now. And we're doing an actual maritime assessment of what the fees are in the minor sports.
So it's safe to say what I said earlier, that work is in progress.
Yeah.
Right, Frank? Thank you.
Just want to make sure it's just followed up. That's why I want to make sure it's under the radar. And Councillor Bernard is right, but it does have to go through the standing committee responsible for subsidies for sports and leisure. That's this committee right
That's
here.
right. So
Thanks.
this committee will eventually be making a recommendation to the finance committee and then the finance to council. That's done through the budget, correct? Okay, thank you. Let's move on to 2, adoption of minutes.
Moved.
Oh,
Second it.
thank you. Business arising?
Okay, Mr. Chair, I keep bringing this up every month.
Go ahead.
It's in number 5, page 3, and it's about the pathway project that's at the corner of Brighton, Terry Fox Drive. Just want to know status because we're now near the end of August, next month it's September. So anything to report, because there's nothing in our agenda here that indicates updates on capital projects.
I thought the manager responded to you by email. Did you not, Frank?
He did?
So that is the update, Your Worship, that was provided. So we're on track to meet what I proposed in there as the timelines. And I noticed they had this as a regular meeting. This is actually a special meeting. Our regular meeting will be in September. So you will get an updated of all the capital projects at that time.
This was listed as regular monthly meeting, so this is a special meeting.
This is the second meeting, yes, correct, Your Worship, sorry. So yeah, the project, the update hasn't changed, so what I indicated at that time is what's still, what we're planning to take place.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frank, for the clarification. Is there any other business arising from the minutes? Are we okay, gentlemen, to move forward to our agenda item?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Let's see now, just bring it up here. Prepared by Mike White, Arena Superintendent, the Simmons Sports Center furniture, fixtures, and equipment. I believe we have tenders, requests for quotes. Frank, would you like to address that, please?
Thank you, Chair Twill. Yes, so you'll see in the backgrounder there, we went out to a request for quotes for the furniture, fixtures, and equipment, or referred to as FF&E, if you hear that, requirements for Simmons. So we ended up receiving 5 companies had put forward bids. One was disqualified because they didn't submit the complete package. We went through and reviewed the request for quotes. There was specification components they had to meet, and then the other was the financial score. So when we went through and reviewed the actual 4 bids that we did actually score, the winning bid was from Atlantic Business Interiors for $42,364 plus applicable taxes. And this was a request for quotes. We went through. And this includes the chairs for the multi-purpose room, the chairs for the warm room. It includes sort of sofas, we'll call them, for the actual atrium area. Includes office chairs, office equipment, or office desks, and I can't recall the other one item.
Clocks.
A what?
Clocks.
No, not clocks, Your Worship. It was the, tables. I guess we need tables if we have chairs. So we went out and we received a good interest, which was excellent to see, and we evaluated the quotes. We did have criteria in there for evaluating it, and ended up going with the company that provided the best value for the specifications that we were requesting.
Thank you, Frank. Any questions for our manager?
Seems pretty straightforward.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion. Moved by Councilor Matart, second by Mayor Brown. All in favor?
Aye.
Councilor Bernard? Councilor Bernard? One more time. Councilor Bernard?
Yes. I'm in favor.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Thank you. Frank, just a supplementary, if you don't mind. Our signage package now has been dealt with, furniture. Is there any other features or amenities that council, or first starts with our committee staff, is there any other features or amenities that have to be completed in order for the facility to be ready on October the 14th?
Chair Twill, so we are still finishing off the actual tender packages, so they're still finishing the final touches like HVAC. Flooring's going in now. When you see flooring going in, that means that you're getting close. Finishing walls, light fixtures going in certain areas. So a lot of the sort of last details are being done right now. The only one that I do see will be coming to the committee probably in the next week or so is we need to purchase a floor scrubber because the building is a large building. So we are going out to request for quotes for that right now, and hopefully within the next couple of weeks we'll be bringing a motion to the committee to consider.
I think it's safe to say we're on schedule. You don't anticipate any disruptions or anything out of the ordinary extenuating circumstances. I think we're on schedule to be open for October the 14th.
Correct, Chair Twill. So our contractors have been working diligently. Our professional services and our owner's project has been pushing things along, keeping things moving along. So as of right now, everything is on schedule and will be opening October 14th.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay. Our next item.
I do have a quick question. Mr. Chair.
Yes, please go ahead.
I'm just wondering, usually the registrations for minor hockey are in September, and the kids are on the ice for September. Is there any issue with ice now that Simmons the old Simmons is down?
Go ahead, Frank.
I wish Mike was here to answer this completely, but there has been some challenges, and part of the challenges is that the Bella Lion Center is closed for, I think, a week and a half or so for the curling event. But I know the Cody Banks, they turned the plant on today, and it'll be open September 4th, so it is going to be completely booked. And my understanding is that there's possibly one of the rural community rinks are going to open up earlier to help in accommodating user groups from Charlottetown. But yeah, so once the facility is open, it will be fully booked as well. But yeah, it is a bit challenging, and partly to do with there's Cody Banks and Eastlink are the only two facilities that are going to be used by city user groups to sort of select their teams at the start of the year.
And the Simmons rink the Simmons rink wouldn't have opened until the end of September anyways, on a regular year.
Yes, that is correct, Krista.
Okay,
Yes.
so it normally doesn't open until the end of September. So so hockey teams don't have their pre-warm-up camps before that.
Not usually.
When
not at
does
Simmons.
minor hockey actually start? Okay.
Yeah, not at Simmons. Some teams will start early October, but some will start earlier, usually the higher level teams. But it will be tighter this year, and that's what Mike White says. But the minor hockey associations have realized that they were not going to have access to Bell Lion Center, so they made other plans to try to meet those demands of their associations.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, just to add to
Thank
that, being very familiar with that scenario, there are a number of teams which will start some tryouts in early September, and then as well as having conditioning camps. But you're right, Simmons wouldn't have normally been operational till closer to the end of the month anyway. So there'll be a bit of an overlap and an impact there, just between, say, end of September and early October when this starts. But it sounds like Mike has a plan in place to alleviate some of that concern with maybe an outside entity.
And Councillor Matard, it wasn't necessarily Mike. I think it was the minor hockey associations actually took the lead.
They took the
yeah,
lead,
they
okay.
realized there was going to be some challenges.
okay.
So, but Mike, of course, supported it.
Sure, yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Is that okay, Councillor Bernard?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, great. I'm sorry, our next item is concerns and issues with the encampments and public disturbances in our city parks. Concerns and issues with encampments, to inform council which department is responsible for addressing concerns and issues relating to encampments and public disturbances. Council received this report as information. Okay, Frank, I think what we'll do is we'll turn it over to you, and then I'm sure we'll have many questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chair Twill. So I did up a brief report here, just so that sort of members of council understood sort of what the roles of each department was. So we had received a request from Councillor Matard, and you as chair had asked for this to be put on a meeting for one of our upcoming meetings. And it's just that with this, the ask was, what was the role of Parks and Recreation in preventing encampments in parks? So just so you know, the department informs the police department when an encampment or public disturbance occurs in a park or city trail. Police will then take the lead and take the required action to address. Police will collaborate, of course, with the Parks and Recreation Department and Public Works to request our assistance when it comes to cleanups. Additionally, the Parks and Recreation Department has employed Park Patrol, and they're responsible for monitoring activities in Victoria Park, as well as a mobile unit for other parks in the city. The Park Patrol communicates with the police and documents incidents in a nightly report, which is submitted to our park superintendents. And if there's any issues there, you know, our park superintendents would forward them on to the police as well. In coordination with the city's police department, the park's hours have been reduced at one of our parks, which is Joe Giz Park, and it's open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The city's police department has implemented a zero-tolerance policy where individuals will be required to leave the park outside of park hours. They've also been increased foot patrols are conducted in conjunction with the Community Wellness Unit, and the Charlottetown Police Department are diligently addressing criminal activities in parks, while cases related to well-being or vagrants are being handled on an individual basis. So that's just sort of an overview. We make them aware. We provide support. Our staff do not go in to try to break up something. It's a real safety concern. So what we do, make the police informed, and then they make us aware. And they'll provide safety. If we need to say we're going in, have to empty garbage or whatnot, and there's a group of individuals hanging around, police might be called to come in and assist us in moving them along. So if any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you for that, Frank. I guess, you know, it's no secret that there has certainly been a significant increase in concerning activity within the Joe Giz Park. You know, probably over the last 3 to 4 weeks, really seen an increase. I continuously am being contacted by residents in and around the surrounding area, primarily with regard to what appears to be and is being perceived as, you know, the beginning of these encampment type situations. And I've been dealing with, you know, the CPS, the Charlottetown Police Services, on a continual basis. And I do understand that, you know, there are procedures in place to address that. However, you know, I think as quickly as maybe something is taken down, it's put back up. And I know we've dealt with a lot of extreme heat lately, and some of the sentiments are that, you know, these are more to do with kind of not so much an encampment or shelter, but to kind of get out of the heat and stuff in. But I think what's happening is that is becoming more widespread and accepted in the park. And there's a particular area along a fence line where you can see there's at any given time 20, 30 people that are conjugating into that area. And I drove by there even as early, every night, so I'm by there every night. Last night wasn't any different. There was literally a boxed kind of encampment style thing that's been set up. The garbage is increasing. There's a number of garbage that's there. So although I do applaud and and respect the efforts of the police and what they can do, I think that we're just think we're starting to see a real increase here, and I'm really worried that this is going to escalate very quickly into a situation that we're not going to be able to address. And then when it comes to the situation of the park being closed from 8 p.m. till 8 a.m., I do see the bylaw enforcement officer down there on the evenings. I'm not sure what authority he has to actually do anything or to, other than just ask people to please leave the park at that point in time. And I say bylaw, sorry, it might be the security that's hired. Young gentleman there, I see him going around the park trying to ask people to move along, and to no avail. And, I question other park situations, what happens in that situation. I feel like, is this just a better situation than what it could be? And we're just, allowing things to kind of remain as is, but it is becoming very problematic. The residents want something to be done there. As you know, I reach out quite often to yourself and to Public Works and to the police, and kind of getting, well, we can't do this unless police do that. And we're downloading everything onto the city police. Everything, is with the city police to a sense. And I don't mean you're downloading it. I just mean a lot of the issues there that are being dealt with. There is, I think there are some clients who are not welcome into the outreach center. So therefore, as a result of it, go into the park. And then, of course, when there's issues, it's call the city police to deal with, to deal with that situation. I didn't mean you directly or your department. I just mean in any situation that's happened in there. And last week we had a fire down in the park. So I just think things are escalating and escalating and escalating. And I know Old Home Week was just there. That may have contributed a bit to it as well, in the way in which, a lot of activity that was in that area. But since Sunday, and it's now Wednesday here, I'm not seeing any decrease in the activity that's going on there, and I'm through there quite regularly. So I'm here to request that something be done immediately with all avenues that can be dealt with, so that yourself, through Parks, to the chair, to Parks, Public Works, and City Policing, to address this problem as quickly as we can, so it doesn't rapidly get out. And I have had conversations with the chief about that, and I know they're mindful of it. I know they're cognizant, and they're talking. They want to continue to keep a police presence there. They're not letting up on that, but there's only so much can be done. But I feel like we have to get some quick wins in there, and we have to start taking down these things so it doesn't get out of hand. I'll let you have an opportunity there.
Yeah, Councilor Machar, so I'll just give you a bit of an update too. I just got a request from police at around 3 o'clock and was just speaking with one of the constables. So we're going to have staff going in there tomorrow morning to do some cleaning in that corner. There's some debris left behind. They were able to move, I think there was a tent set up and a couple lean-tos. Those individuals weren't there this morning. I drove in this morning actually maybe a bit earlier. So people aren't hanging around there. It seems to be, like I said, when 8 a.m. hits, there's people coming around. In the evening, they try to disperse them. It takes them some time to get them out of there, but they do as well. It's just where are they sending them to? But I know police have been trying to enforce that so that, like you had indicated, an encampment doesn't get set up and started. So hopefully tomorrow we'll remove whatever debris is there. We might need the assistance of Public Works, but our staff will go and assess. And then in that area, there is going to be some work done associated with the actual Grafton Street project. They are going to be removing the stormwater management, needs to be replaced there. So there's a pipe that goes out there. So that area is going to be dug up probably the first of next week. So that area won't be available to anyone to hang out in. But where they might go to, I'm not sure.
But, well, where they'll go to is the opposite side of that, at that field. And that puts them closer even to the residential side of things. Not that, at the far corner they're at now would be closer to the car wash. That's where the area of activity is now. So if you're saying to me there's going to be construction in and around that area, that just leads me to believe we're going to be pushing. I guess what, we need to do is start to, even the province needs to come in and start addressing if they're not going to be allowed into the outreach center and they're not going to be allowed into the shelter, then the place for them is not going to be just go over to Joe Giz Park and hang out there throughout the day and the evening and the night. because you're not, you don't want to comply with the things that are, being offered to them in those other locations. So I think that that's where, and I'm glad to hear that there is some things that are activities that's happening to help relieve it, but I'm just, it's clean up tomorrow and then the next day we're just back in the same situation. And I also want to point out, what I've really also seen there, and it's a real shame actually, is just the degradation in the usage of that park. Like I don't really see anybody using that park whatsoever. And I think that's indicative of the fact that there is now such a large group of people that have kind of taken over that area, and people are afraid to use the park and take their kids there. So that's a real, it's a real shame that that park is kind of getting that situation now. Also, we have the schools starting up here next week with both, Holland College and Birchwood, and a lot of young kids use the path and the parkway to get to Wendy's area. So I'm very much concerned as to what is going to happen there around that situation. I know that's more on the policing side of things, but, I guess this is all coming back to the park, right? This is all this activity that's happening in a particular area of that park. And the parking lot where the Holland College students will park and then walk over to Holland College, it's in between there. So, my request here today, Mr. Chair, is for this continued, pressure to address these issues, both from a policing, a park perspective, and Public Works to keep applying that so that we can see that this situation does not get out of hand, where we're faced with making some really tough decisions.
Mr. Chair.
I'll give it.
It is out of hand, because today we're down for the site visit. Richard was with the site visit down at the Eastern Gateway Waterfront Big Dig project. So what they've done now is they've moved their operations off the park and into the construction site holding area, the Marshland yard. That's where the pipe are. So they're not on park land. They're now on Holland College or CADC property. So Holland College has to make the phone call, get them off the property. That's number one. Number two is that we have no picnic tables in many parks in that area because they become places of congregation. So why would you want to take your family over to a park where there's no benches, there's no picnic tables? We've also taken the picnic tables off Victoria Row because of the congregation of what's happening. So, Councillor Matard, I'm glad you're bringing this up. I think this should be brought up every week, every month. What are we going to do? How do we move this issue to some kind of resolution? And I don't know what the solution is, but the province needs to identify that you have individuals that cannot get into, as you said, that are not permitted or not allowed to use the provincial community outreach wellness facility. They're not allowed to go into the temporary emergency shelter because they don't abide by the rules. Okay, so what's your backup plan? This is a mental health crisis, a drug addiction crisis. That's a constitutional right of the province, including education. So where's their plan? And I know Councillor Tweel keeps asking about it. Where's their plan? They want to, give the money, cut the ribbons and don't give the money, right? So, or cut the ribbons and don't cut the checks. So, look, Holland College and CADC has to make that call because they were setting up tent this afternoon after we finished our site visit. And talking about last night, I drove by there at 10 o'clock at night. As you know, Councillor Matard, it's a darkened area, right? Well, there must have been 20 plus individuals there, and the fighting going on and the yelling. And I said, oh my heavens, what is going on here? Like, why aren't we getting a grip of this issue? So what are we going to do, Mr. Chair, is I think there has to be another call out to the province. You got a health crisis. It's a mental health crisis. It's your constitutional responsibility. What are you doing? You have individuals that are not allowed in the provincial community outreach center. They're not allowed in the temporary emergency shelter. What's your backup plan? That's, maybe we need a letter as correspondence from our director responsible for Parks and Recreation to send it out to not just the Premier, but the Minister responsible for Housing, Municipal Affairs and Land Use, Minister Lance. Guys, and Minister McLean, because, look, keep this on the agenda every week. This has to be discussed every week.
Thank you, gentlemen. Look, I went through this, when we had the outreach center up in Eustis Street. I've talked to some of our major user groups that stopped using all of our park and stopped using the sports fields because of needles and crack pipes and garbage and all those nice activities that people have referred to. So I certainly understand the dynamic that's taking place. And, it's great to say we're going to have these facilities, and there's going to be zero tolerance on their property, their respective property, when it comes to discipline, structure, terms of reference. You're in full compliance or you're not welcome. So what happens is then it spills out onto our city parks, the heritage, the four squares, the one up by the funeral home, they're up there all the time. As a city, with all due respect, we've, the old, downloading, downsizing, it's your problem. Police, you've got a police department, you've got a parks department, Public Works, from what I understand, we're still picking up needles and crack pipes. I never understood that since we don't fund it, but it's our staff that have to clean up the debris, as our manager said. So we got a lot of residents in that particular area that are extremely frustrated. You're right, there's no picnic tables. I know of a major group in our city that has canceled an event they've had there on an annual basis. We're done. We're done. We're going somewhere else. And this is unfair. It's extremely unfair. Councillor for the ward talked about school opening up. I did receive that same email that you did today. And they want to know what the plan is too, the president of the Home School Association. They want to know what the plan is in terms of protecting the students that like to commute down to Wendy's or Tim's. I'm proposing, and I hope the committee will support me on this, I'm proposing it's time that we have a community meeting. We need to have a community meeting with the residents. We need to invite, I said it before, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to say it again. We need to invite the Premier, not just, the MLA responsible or the cabinet minister responsible. The Premier has to show up, okay? These are your facilities. These are your employees. Everything is downloaded onto us, and it's not fair. It wasn't fair 3 years ago, and it's not fair today. Now, the man is down there every day. I see it too. I go by. I take a tour around. I see who's who. There's no accountability, no responsibility. Oh, well, you hear the old saying, well, it's in every city. I really don't care about every other city. I care about this city. This is a city that I grew up in. This is a city that, we all grew up in, and there's checks and balances. You know what the rules of the game are, and there's consequences to your actions. And to say, well, it's a mental health or it's addictions, yeah, there's more to it than that. There's a lot of illegal activities going on. All you have to do is just turn on social media, and I'm not a social media buff, but you see it. And people are questioning, they're looking for answers, they're looking for leadership, and they're saying, somebody do something. Somebody take the bull by the horns and do something. So what I'm suggesting, and I want your support, committee, it's time. First, second weekend of September, we need to have a community meeting, and we need to invite all of the residents. okay? Those facilities have been down there long enough. I don't want to hear tailor-made scripted notes from other levels of government or people that are hired to look after these things or supposedly look after these things. I never bought that story. I never did. I've always talked to the residents, people that have lived there, made an investment there, have lived there for some of them for over 30 and 40 years. And they're saying, what is happening to our community? So I think it's time we have a community meeting. This committee meet with the community and invite everyone. And we'll invite the Premier and the Cabinet Ministers. I'm not waiting to hear, a scripted report saying 2 or 3 weeks' time. And, it's unfair also when it comes to our senior management, because what's senior management going to say? Well, Brad, Chief of Police, you handle it. No, Fire Chief, Tim, maybe, no, you handle it. No, but we'll get a hold of Frank, Manager of Parks and Rec, or we'll talk to Scott. It's just a merry-go-round, and our staff can only do so much. They can only do so much, and it's not fair to our staff. That's why, Mr. Mayor, I said over the last 3 years, yeah, I come up with the quote, you want to cut the ribbons, cut the checks, okay? But don't download everything up. Like, we get the bad news, and at the other levels of government, here's what we're doing. It sounds wonderful. But city, you guys, clean up the garbage cans, pick up the debris, move the tents along, put the fires out. So I'm sincere when I say this, gentlemen. I want to have a community meeting, and I want to hear from the community directly. We have heard from them, but we need to empower our community because they are frustrated, they're scared, and they're looking for help. They need our help. That's our job. Our job is to protect the residents. Okay, and other item, Frank, we please put it on our next agenda, is concerns about the rails and trails. I hear that about things that are happening on the rails and trails. We have seniors that love the rails and trails, and they're scared. So this city, we might as well start down in this community here. We might as well start here and just say, okay, we're going to have a meeting. We're going to take recommendations from the community. That's who we're responsible to. Nobody else but the community. We'll take the recommendations, we'll do up synopsis, and we'll meet with the province. Here it is, from A to Z. And not this merry-go-round so the next month, and we're going to discuss it the following month, and we're just going nowhere. So we've got to do that. So please support me on a community meeting.
So, thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I certainly agree. Something you just said there, which really the point of what I was trying to make here today was, I really do think we need someone to grab the bull by the horns here and actually do something down here. Instead of, 4 different people looking at each other, so we can't do this, we can't do that. It is one of our parks. We're responsible. The city's responsible for a park. Regardless of what is going on. It's no different if there was an activity happening at another park where there was some sort of unwanted behavior, we would send somebody in and they would be removed from the park. It clearly even outlines right here in the statement, the city's police department has implemented a zero tolerance policy where individuals be required to leave the park outside of park hours. Well, we just heard here last night at 10 o'clock at night, the park's full of people. That's not a zero tolerance policy. They're still remaining in the park. Are they there at 2 o'clock in the morning? Yes, they are. I've heard from many residents that the amount of noise disturbance and things that occur at 2, 3, 4 in the morning is just not acceptable. I don't think we would accept this at Victoria Park. I don't think we'd accept this at another park. We can't accept that at this park because it is next to the outreach center and the shelter. I think it's becoming a bigger problem, and we need to address this quickly. So my request here is for the department to work very closely with the policing services to come up with an action plan that will address this immediately. And if we don't see change, I just see it becoming increasingly worse, and we are going to have a community meeting to address this because people want to be heard because they feel like we're not hearing them. And And unless we show progress here, that's what we're going to amount to here at the end of the day. This is just going to continue and continue. So and the suggestion of that the mayor made about, possibly having, our director reach down to the province and really express these concerns about what is happening in there and how this is affecting our park.
I think we need to lay it out a bit of an itinerary. I think what we do first, we have a community meeting, right? We have a community meeting, we get all the information, we identify everything accurately, we pinpoint all of the recommendations that will come from our constituents, and then we prepare that documentation, then we send it down to the province. And, Mr. Mayor, I want you to go with me in this.
No, I'm,
Right.
Councillor Twill, listen, we know the issues.
No,
we know the issues.
But we gotta meet
No.
with we have to meet with
Yeah.
the residents want to be heard, sir.
We get emails, he gets phone calls, he gets text messages, I get text messages. We know the issue. The issue is that the parks are being overtaken by our marginalized, vulnerable population because they got nowhere else to go because they're not permitted in these two facilities that I've mentioned 2 or 3 times. So the province has to come back, and I think that Councillor Mattard is saying, let's look at some progress over the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Are we moving or are we not moving? That's what we need to do. Listen, I love public meetings just as much as you do, but we know the problems, and I don't want to hold up by saying, okay, let's go out and listen to the public. We know what they want. I get it. I'll tell you what, I was leaving the racetrack last Thursday night, talking to someone on the side of the road, on Kensington Road, near the Confederation Trail. A young woman says to me, do you live just down the street here? And I said, no, that's my brother. And she said, well, there's a lot of situations a lot of issues going on with the outreach and also I call it the Provincial Community Outreach Centre and the Temporary Emergency Shelter. And then her boyfriend, her partner started, cursing at me saying, you're not going to do nothing. You know what the problem is. So you know what? They're going to be going to a public meeting and said, look, I saw you in the street. I told you the problem. I know the problem. He knows the problem. You know the problem. Frank knows the problem. Let's put something in place that identify how we can start moving this forward. I know the problem. Councillor Twill, you know the problem.
I know the problem.
Let's
but we
deal
got
with
a lot of residents that want to.
Yeah, and you know what? If I could just chime in here, guys.
Yeah.
I agree with the mayor. I think that we definitely know the problems. And sometimes I have a little bit of a problem with it's a provincial issue. We have a meeting, we get the information. Well, like the mayor says, we have the information. I think the meeting with the province needs to be the next step. And what are they going to do about the issues that are happening in our parks? So everybody knows what those issues are. Justin made them quite clear. So what is the plan?
Well, I think to answer that, I think if we don't see immediate action, then the perception is we're not doing anything and we don't want to hear from the people. So, people are contacting me on a regular basis, and I'm doing everything that I can to express their voices to the levels of within the city here to address the problem. But when you don't see,
oh yeah, and I don't, Justin, I don't mean that you're not doing your job. All I'm saying is there's issues there, and we know those issues. And I think I agree with the meeting, but I think the meeting with the province. I don't think it's a meeting with residents to hear what we already know. I think it's a meeting with the province to find out what are you doing? What is the plan here?
But it also reinforces.
Here's the issues. If you're not aware of them, here's the issues. But I think the MLAs that are responsible for this need to be much more involved than they are. This is a provincial issue more than it's a city issue, and I don't see them anywhere.
Well, that's the problem.
So where's the MLAs and where's the province and what's their plan? I think that's what needs to be the next step.
If I could just provide a comment, what our department has been doing, and I know other departments has been as well, is we're keeping a list of every single incident associated with, public disturbance, unhoused, related incidents, those kind of things, all in all of our parks. And what what we're doing to try to address them. It is challenging. We communicate regularly with the police, and we wish that it was possible that they could just move them out and they didn't come back. That's not what happens. They move them out and they come back, and it's just constantly. But we are communicating regularly with the police. We personally, as our staff, cannot go in there because of safety concerns. There is potential, there could be an incident. Someone might be high or whatever kind of thing, and they overreact, and it's just so we rely on the police. We have to for them to go in and move them on. But we do go in and then do cleanup and whatnot. It has been very frustrating for our staff as well, who spend a lot of time in a park doing work, planting flower beds, all those kind of things, and they come in and it's all ripped out and destroyed, or they go in and they one of our washing facilities get vandalized and they just repaired something. So. I know it feels like we're reacting, but that feels like what we can do right now until we know what can be done or what is the solution. And I don't know what it is. I don't know whether the province knows what it is, but.
But Frank, in due respect, I think what can start here is marching down the street and saying, this is our park. This is our park that is being decimated, Parks and Park, for instance. And we need immediate action from the province to do that. I mean, the recourse here is call the city police and have them come down and do it. There's only so much they can do. We realize that. They just move along, they go from here to here. We get that. So the problem's right here, it just goes over here, it comes back in a couple hours. So when I talk about downloading and onto the police, that's what I mean. They're doing the very best they can with the resources they have. We need alternatives. So if the model of, the tactical model here for the outreach center is, and this is obviously, what we asked for and people ask for is great, is if you don't want to come in here and comply and, take advantage of the services, you're not allowed in. Fine, that alleviates the problem there, but it's just creating another problem out here that they're not addressing that one. So the problem there is just go across the parking lot, into the park, and now it becomes our problem. And I think that's where I would like to see immediately the city, whoever that means, is to go down and have those conversations and say, this is getting out of hand down here. Your tactical procedures that you have for both the outreach and that, although they work great for inside the fence, they're not working outside the fence. They're causing big problems for our area of responsibility. And I think that's what we're missing right at the moment. I know that. And whether that's you or Richard or the CAO and the mayor, someone's got to go and have that conversation and say, we need to get that going.
I think, you know what, when it comes to dealing with elected officials at the provincial level, I believe that's our responsibility. Senior staff can be present, but we've got to make it known, crystal clear to the elected officials at the provincial level, okay? I'm going to reiterate, I still think there's a lot of people out there that would like to be heard, right? And it's elected officials should be calling public meetings. So we can hear, we're the ones that, we're dealing with the residents. And it's not enough to say, well, we'll send a letter down on behalf, of our senior management. We've got to be a little more animated. We've got to be a lot more forceful. And we have to let them know that we mean business. Okay? This is nothing new. It's just a merry-go-round. Just keeps going around and round and round. And what's happening is all of our departments are doing the best they can, but they're reacting. There's nothing being proactive about it. Okay? We're just reacting. Okay. McTart phoned last night, Tweel sent an email today. It's the same thing, over and over and over, and we're dealing with it all over the city. Okay? It's the same thing. People are saying, what has happened to our city? People don't feel safe in their neighborhoods anymore. Okay? We have a great city, but we lost control of it. We lost control of it, folks. And I really think that, you can do things simultaneously. We can have the meeting with the province, Mr. Matart, Councilor Matart, we can have the meeting, we'll go down and meet with them, or they'll come meet here. Better still, why don't we just meet in the park? Why not? Let's just meet in the park. You know, don't tell me, show me. So let's just meet in the park, have the Premier down, a couple of cabinet ministers, and whoever's responsible, the MLA, okay, bring in the Member of Parliament. A lot of funding for these projects comes from the Member of Parliament. Let's have the meeting right down at the park. And we can have that open and transparent discussion right there. And then we do have to engage with the residents from a global perspective.
Okay, Councillor Twill, September 5th, 2023. Had the meeting at Birchwood. Heard it loud and clear. Yeah. The drug problem, the crack the crack pipes, the just openly injecting themselves, okay? So let's go to September 5th, September 5th, 2024. What's changed? What's changed? What's changed? Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Okay.
Nothing's changed.
So there's your report card. So what do? We have to do something. We have to stop thinking that by moving this problem over there or the other side of the river or the other side or in Cornwall is going to cure it. It's not. Like the province, the feds, they are responsible for health. And health not only includes physical health, it includes mental health. Yeah. Mental health is a responsibility. So if they're not taking care of the situation, we're taking responsibility because you know what? Councillor Matard and other councillors are bringing it up and we're talking about it. They're not talking about it.
Why should they?
Because you know what? Don't talk about it and nobody'll care.
No, they'll talk about it up at 199 Queen Street.
So what I'm saying is that we need an action plan. The action plan has to be a full discussion of council. Like, you know, Councillor Matart and I were out in Calgary. I still remember the comment from some of the councillors when we were down in Stevens Avenue. Well, no home is here. You know what City Council did before we arrived in Calgary? They shipped them all down to 4th Street Northeast. And I went down there to see the situation. It was, and I think Councillor Matart went there too. What a sad situation. But by Sunday, up the FCM, June 8th, guess what? They're all migrating back. Because you know what? They get nowhere to go. And the province is not doing taking their responsibility. Mental health health is a constitutional responsibility of the provincial government, so is education. We have to find ways to say, look, our police services are being taxed. And Frank's right. If I was a Parks Recreation employee, yeah, Philip, you go over to that area right there. What I saw last night, Frank, I'm not going over there. Send the counselor over there. Like it wasn't a safe situation.
No.
And what do you have to do, Frank? As you said, that's a police issue.
What?
And we have to clean up. Who do we get? Public Works.
Yeah.
Like, and Parks and Recreation. We're doing our bit, but are we getting any credit? No, we're getting all the discredit.
That's right.
We're always being blamed. And Councillor Matart is getting a lot of it. But to think that we're going to just clean up that park, they're going to go to other parks. They're going to go into the woods off the Federation Trail.
Yeah.
Now, is this city out of control? I don't believe that.
I think a lot of it's out of control.
No, I don't agree with you because I think we have a police services, we have a city hall that is really in touch with what's going on in the community. So we have to find action plans of what we want to do. What do we want to accomplish? That's what we have to draw up. Because imagine going to a meeting September 5th, 2024. What did you do since last year? Well, we're working on it. Then you could, wait. I could imagine what it would be.
Well, do you know what? Do you know what? That's our responsibility, Mr. Mayor.
No, our responsibility is to correct the problems.
Yeah, I know. But you know what? If they're not correct, we still have to engage with the residents.
Yeah.
That's our job.
We engage with them.
No,
we engage because when we receive
we didn't
emails,
engage. The chief of police engaged.
text messages,
We sat there.
Facebook messages.
We weren't allowed to ask
criticizing
questions. We weren't allowed
X.
to say anything. That was called by the police.
Yeah.
Right?
Look, Councillor Twill, I can stay here all day, and I will, but I'm just telling you, we're going around in circles. That's all we're
You
doing.
know what?
So what are the action? And I think Councillor Matard has already mentioned one action item, and that is start moving this out.
Okay, let's call for a meeting with the province. The Premier, Cabinet Ministers, the MLA, Member of Parliament, right? And we'll meet down at the Joe Giz Park.
But that's not the only park that's affected by this.
No, but
No, no.
we'll use that as an example.
No,
But let's use that as an example.
our trail, 13
I
kilometers of
understand that,
trail.
Mr. Mayor. Let's start somewhere. Let's start somewhere. Let's have a meeting down there.
We do have a joint task force. We will be meeting. We can bring that, if you want to. No, well, you know what, you can wave your hands like that all you want.
Where are we going with it?
Councillor Twill, okay, what are the actions that we want to do?
We need
Councillor
to
Mattar.
do it.
Sorry, thank you, Mr. Chair. As I indicated, I think there are a couple immediate things we need to do. Certainly I support, the having consultations with the residents in the form of a meeting. I do support that. However, I think, as we speak and sit here right at this moment in time, I hope that both with Frank and Richard, is that, a phone call is going to be made tomorrow to the province regarding the impacts that we're having on all of our parks, but primarily right now, Joe Giz Park is the highlight of what we're talking with. I think that needs to happen immediately. I think that there needs to be immediate action happen down there, and I'm happy to hear, as Frank, you had an update here today saying that there are things that are happening in the park. That is great and wonderful that action is happening today, but that action needs to continue on a daily basis because, of course, it's like anything, you take things away and a couple days things look good and then all of a sudden we're right back to where we were. So those are the immediate things that I would like to see as the councillor for that ward is those things addressed immediately. And then, that continued presence and pressure of we're going to have a zero tolerance policy in our parks, and especially in Joe Giz Park because of the location. And if we don't see that, that's where we want to bring in. We want, because obviously, people, I put forward the concerns of the residents in that area as others do as well. And it feels to them as if it's not being heard. It's just falling on deaf ears. And they're not getting their voice heard themselves. They're getting it heard through myself or through other councillors or directly to City Hall. I'm sure City Hall must get numerous amounts of calls here regarding the park. So, those are some of the things that I would like to see happen immediately and see some change. So that's what I'm requesting. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I do think, guys, when you have a meeting, you take on ownership of it. And then the next expectation is, what are you going to do about it now? And, to me, this has always been a provincial issue. It's our parks. But I think if you're going to go down that road, you better have some solutions. And you know what? Other than what we're doing now, I'm not sure what else we have jurisdiction to do. It's a provincial mandate.
Well, I don't disagree with you, but we have jurisdiction over our park. This is our park. So we're going to go in and we got to do something. Those are our parks and we have jurisdiction over the park. So we have to do
And that's
something.
what I'm saying. I think that's what I'm saying, Justin. I think we are doing that now. We have the police down there. We have the police doing their rounds. And like, if we're going to have a public meeting and we're going to hear all the same concerns, what are we prepared to do different that we're not doing now?
I agree. What are we prepared to do?
Councillor Bernard, yeah, no, I agree. That's why I go back to the September 5th meeting, 2023. We heard it. The crack pipes out in the streets, no one paying attention to injecting themselves on a sidewalk, defecating everywhere. But these are health concerns. Like, I don't know how many times we have to keep talking about this. This is a situation that is clearly being, it's because it's in the city and it's not affecting, their votes elsewhere, their voting base. I just find it very, very difficult to move on any of these issues, because if we come down with the big hammer, there will be opposition. If we go too lightly, if we go light on this, there'll be opposition. So where's the middle ground?
So what do you mean if we go heavy? Like, who's the opposition gonna come from?
Oh, I'm sure we will hear there will be opposition. We saw it the first time that we had to take care of the tent encampment down at the Charlottetown Event Grounds. You were there, I was there. There will be opposition to it because
From people living in the community? That are paying the taxes, have an investment, paying the mortgage payments?
I don't know.
That want their neighborhoods and
Yeah,
communities protected? There's gonna be opposition from them?
Yeah,
I don't think so, Mr. Mayor.
yeah.
I don't think so.
So let's find a common sense approach to this. And a common sense approach is, as Councilor Matard said, immediate action, clean up, get the cleanup done, and then it's not just Joe Gibbs Park, there are other parks that we have
That's
to be
right.
careful. And then there's also the Confederation Trail. Let's monitor that. Has to be continuing monitoring and follow-up. Correct, Councilor Matard? Is that what you said? Monitoring and follow-up.
We just need to have that consistent tactical approach to ensuring that, that we have the zero tolerance policies, that we have immediate action upon things reoccurring, because they will reoccur. We know that. I mean, history shows us that you'll go take everything down today and it'll be back tomorrow, but it's that relentless pressure, I think, is what we need. So let's.
I want to go on the record, though. I said this before, I'll say it again. When it comes to some of these activities, and our manager here has tried, he's very diplomatic, but hey, I want to go on the record that whatever we do, our city employees are protected at all costs, okay? It's easy for us to sit here, we're not out there doing the cleaning, or we're not out there taking down the tents, or cleaning up the debris, and picking up the needles and all that. So I want to go on the record that I want our employees, Parks and Recreation, Public Works, whether it be water and sewer, police, fire, whatever the case, I want them protected at all costs, okay? This is not what they signed up for. They came to work for the city of Charlottetown. They did not sign up for this, and I think it's totally unfair. I think it's totally unfair to put our staff, they're not getting paid big wages either, okay? They're just trying to make a living. Oh, I think it's totally unfair to put the onus and responsibility on, send this crew down here, we'll send that crew over there. I don't think that's fair. So, we can come up with an action plan. Frank's making notes here, Chris was making notes, Mr. McEwen's making notes. That's all well and good. But I believe, Councilor Matart, that we can do all this. We've got to be forceful when it comes to dealing with the province. We've got to be forceful, okay? I don't want to be talking to bureaucrats. We need to talk to the elected representatives. Need to talk to the Premier, okay? These are his initiatives. These are his programs. We need to talk to the Premier, okay? That's who's calling the shots, not the Cabinet Minister, not the Deputy Minister. It's all come from the Premier's office. No different than the PMO's office. That's how it works. So, I'll say it again. Let's have a meeting with the Premier, Sean Casey, the MLA, or the Member of Parliament, and let's start down at the Joe Gibbs Park. And let's have a meeting down there. Why not? Adjournment?
No,
Okay.
Councilor Twill, no, you want to keep this going, let's keep it going. No. Yep,
No,
I
I gotta
agree.
go. I gotta go.
Yep,
I gotta go, guys.
thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Councilor
Bye-bye.
Bernard. Thank you. Go ahead, Your Worship.
What I agree to is that we need to we have to work on these action items and neighborhoods, immediate action to clean up the situation. That's number one. Number two is to continue to monitor and follow up that this is sustaining itself. And how we do it. We have Councillor Matar now again, time is always of the essence, but on the 28th is our regular monthly meeting for protection and emergency services. So I think that the discussion that took place here should be forwarded to the committee to be discussed at that committee level, because you know what? Councillor Matar has already heard. I phone Parks and Recreation. Well, no, Parks and Recreation has to phone the police. Okay, so we'll play, and I'm not saying play, but we'll bounce this around.
Mr. Mayor?
And by bouncing it around, Frank, we're all in the same mindset. And the same mindset is that we got an issue that we have to deal with. This is a mental health crisis, a drug addiction crisis,
Addictions.
and a misuse of alcohol. And underlying all this, and I've said this over and over, is the unhoused. So we have a province that has these responsibilities. We are doing our work, police, public works, parks and recreation. We're doing our work. We're paying the freight on keeping our parks safe and clean. But we need help on the upstream, which is how do you deal with these issues in getting persons that are being marginalized, that have been affected by whatever issue in their life, whether it's traumatic or it's something that is picked up because of drug addiction. How do they deal with it? Like, guys, we just keep going around. And I'm not just saying about City Hall. I was at a meeting the other day about talking about how we can deal with these street issues. And the keynote speakers were talking in big ideas. And I get up and ask the question, I said, but what do we do about the drug issues, the drug addiction crisis in our communities? What about our neighborhoods that are being victimized by the marginalized and the vulnerable population? What do we do? Well, that's another discussion. No, this is the discussion. This is the discussion. And at least we're talking about it. And again, kudos to Councillor Matar for bringing it up, but we better make sure it's brought up at police. It's brought up at Public Works, because Public Works, which if I'd known about this issue this morning, I would have said, okay, how are we dealing with this issue? How are we all working these departments outside the silos? Because we have to work collaboratively.
Can I make a comment just on that, Mr. Chair? Just sorry, Mr. Mayor, just in regard to that, all well and fine, to have those discussions but that takes time. I want something done tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning to me is meaning those departments can come together tomorrow based on the conversation we've had today and start working on an immediate action plan as to what we need to do. Waiting to bring it up at police as well, great, just gets another, brings them into the fold, waiting for Parks and Recreation, brings them in the fold. But I think there's no secret here what's going on. Everybody knows what's going on. All the managers know what's going on. I've communicated with every one of them. And when we talk about grabbing the bull by horn, taking your path there, that to me, I need something done tomorrow morning. Yeah. And not say we can't have those conversations in those other meetings, but we're not waiting to have that conversation. So I'd like to see, Richard, I guess,
just to clarify,
you to have a conversation.
Councillor Matar, no. I said the actions have to start, but on the 28th, there's a standing committee meeting on protective and emergency service. We have to discuss it there. There's a public works standing committee meeting on September 4th. Has to be brought up out there, because these are the three departments that are dealing with this issue. And, well, that's protective services. So no, your actions start tomorrow. That's what you want.
I'll make a suggestion. Why don't we have, like we did with the farmer's market when it was on Queen Street, why don't we have a joint meeting, a special joint meeting with police, bring in Public Works, okay, we'll have a joint meeting, right? And Mr. Mayor, look, you're the mayor, you can call it, so do it within 48 hours. Let's have a meeting within 48 hours, right? And we'll meet right here.
Yeah.
And we'll hash it out, but I'm not going to compromise on what I believe and what we need to do to communicate that message directly, and Richard, I want it underlined, exclamation marks. I do not believe, I never did believe that it's fair for our staff, our work crews to be put in those precarious positions, okay? And I've been that way all along. I've stood up in this chamber and I said, send the checks down to the Premier's office. I said, why are we picking up the needles in the crack pipes and all this stuff? I've said that 1,000 times and I never got an answer. I wanted to know who made the decision, who created that policy, that it's our responsibility. It's great to say we're doing, I went to one of the meetings there at the Merchants Center, and it's all great, the platitudes, it's beautiful, really. And then I'm sitting back and I'm listening, I said, what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing and reality are two different things.
Yeah.
And that's why I said take the bull by the horns.
Yeah.
And Mr. Mayor, I think we have that meeting within 48 hours.
Yeah. We will have the meeting. We will have the meeting.
Let's
But
have
I
the
can tell you, there are action items that has been asked by the council from the area. Immediate action to clean up the situation, continue to monitor and follow up. Those are actions that we can take
Okay.
right away. And then we will follow up
Yeah.
with Richard, Mike, and I, and Dan, that we can try to bring together those 3 standing committees and discuss it in the Parkdale
Yeah,
room.
and Mr. Mayor, I want to clear, I'm going to say it again, I don't want our staff being put in these precarious situations.
And I agree.
Richard, you heard that?
And-
Frank, you heard it.
And as part, just remember, as part of the application, the permit application was the province provided a cleanup crew. for
Yeah,
garbage and
get
debris
their
in that
crews in.
area. So that should be, they should be the ones who are responsible for that. But Frank, I know you're trying to jump in there in a comment.
I'm just going to make one comment and then I have to go because I have another commitment as well. I guess the biggest thing is our departments are on a daily basis, we are addressing these issues. And as you've mentioned, we keep addressing it, comes back, keep addressing, comes back. And some of them, sometimes larger numbers come and it's more difficult to deal with. But this is sort of the higher profile that more has been happening in this location. And I think what contributed to it is possibly the Old Home Week. They might have been dispersed from other areas, I'm not sure. But it is our staff, and that's just why I want to give a sort of appreciation for our staff. They are dealing with this on a daily basis in a number of parks. This tends to be, has been the most challenging one because there's been more incidents happening in this park. And we communicate, our staff is communicating constantly with police. We communicate regularly with Public Works. So we are aware, we just don't know. We're missing a step here. How are we going to solve this problem when we don't know where these individuals, we're dispersing them just somewhere else? And that's what the challenge has been.
And I think that's the conversations that need to be having. And I fully appreciate all the staff of all departments. I've said that numerous times in my communications. I've never once looked at this and said, why is the city staff not doing more down there? That is not what this is about. This is about leadership here at the city, dealing with the leadership of our provincial government to solve this problem. And if that means we're going to have to take, action, that's what we're looking for. And that action doesn't mean just send your crew down there and get them to clean this up. That is not my message in any way, shape, or form. I 100% appreciate everything CPS is doing, Parks is doing, Public Works is doing, and Fire is doing in all capacity. It's just, we just need to make sure that we all come together and find an actionable solution to get this dealt with. So Frank, much appreciation for everything. I know not coming down on you on this at all in any way.
No problem. Thank you, Councilor Matard.
Mr. McKeown.
Councilor Matard. I necessarily don't know what the solution is, and I don't know whether people.
No, thank you very much, and I'm very pleased to hear the conversation come around to where it has to conclude this meeting, recognizing police is out there all the time. I've witnessed it twice this week. I've reported a tent encampment. Police has come, Public Works, Park and Recreation is cleaned up the next day. I've been so impressed with the response. And I think we really need to recognize that the city staff is doing a tremendous job and we need to work with the province on figuring out that solution. And this is a challenge for every community across Canada. There's a summit coming up in Timmins in September. The city will be represented at that summit, and this is exactly the kind of issue that they're looking to come together, have discussions for us all to figure out what those potential solutions are. And I will reach out to the province and make sure that they understand the importance of working with us to find those solutions, because we need to start thinking about the solutions too, and not pointing fingers. And it's collectively, we all need to put our heads together and figure out how to get prevention and try to avoid having this situation within our society. And it's a challenge across Canada and many parts of the world. And it's so important for us to recognize the hard work that our staff are currently doing. And that's all collectively to try and figure out those solutions. So very pleased with how the conversation came around to recognizing the work that is being done and the importance of working towards those solutions. So just to kind of help bring us to a close, but very pleased with how the conversation's closed.
Yeah, no, Richard, we've always, look, that's why I took the stands that I did the last 3 years. I never believed in my heart and soul that it was our staff's responsibility. Okay? And like I said, they're not getting paid to do this kind of work. It's not what they signed up for. And I'm concerned about their safety. I always have been. And I think we need the reverse onus has to go back in the province and the feds. I'm going to call for adjournment. Second? Are you okay? Are you okay?